Hey everyone, it's TV dinner time. Kick your shoes off, get comfy. Today we're talking about episodes 5 through 8 of Ripley, the Netflix series from 2024. Our first episode in this series, we talked about episodes 1 through 4. So this would be the finale, if you want to call it that, of Ripley for us. So we'll get into it.
The ending of the story of
Yeah.
Ripley, right? Or Dickie, so to speak, if we want to kind of
Freaking Tom Ripley, man. Like, you did hit the nail on the head because when we recorded the first episode, we had talked about, hey, the opening scene of episode 1, you see Tom taking someone down the stairs, and we didn't know who it was. We just kind of speculated on who it could be. And I think you were the one that said, like, oh, I think it's Fred. I agreed because I wasn't a fan of Fred, but you were right.
but then you almost feel bad too. It's like, man, like it's just like, but also like in the grand scheme of things, Fred is there to just figure out where his friend is.
Yeah.
And then you got slapped across the face with a freaking like cigarette holder and everything, or like an ashtray.
I was waiting for Marge to get that too. Marge was about to get it, and I was like, yes. Because I don't know why I was not a fan of Fred or Marge. There was just something about those characters that I was like, they're meddling too much. Tom is a piece of shit, but it just seemed like they were meddling too much. And
yeah.
I couldn't.
That's a question that I asked myself the whole time watching this. It's like, if like one of our friends was wealthy and everything, it's we're not wealthy. We're trying to get there with this podcast, but if then some like shady person comes around and stuff, and they like start hanging out, and there's like that Fred and also Marge kind of have like this weird understanding that possibly they're like in love with each other and stuff, and like Tom wants to like be together with him and with Dickie. But like it's like in terms of their meddling, I get Marge because you're like the significant other, and then you've been living this like marvelous life with Dickie. But then how much questions would you ask in this situation?
Like I do understand Marge a little more. Like you said, like, okay, this is my boyfriend, like we've been together, we've been away from his family all this time. Like, who the hell are you? I get that, but I think it was her approach to it. And then Dickie was just dumb. Like, this dude came out of nowhere. He said you guys were friends years prior, and now you're like, okay, hey, I'll take you under my wing, stay in my house. So a lot of it was Dickie's fault for being so open to bringing somebody from his past back into his life.
Yeah, almost immediately too, where it's like, oh, like you don't need to stay at the hotel, you can stay at my place and everything. It's like, no, I haven't seen you in a long time, so you stay at your hotel and then let me know next time you want to come.
I don't think we have any friends that dumb. Like, I think all of our friends would have questioned, like, okay, cool, it's great seeing you after all these years, but let's kind of ease back into this friendship or whatever it may be. That's
true, yeah. I think that kind of goes to my point of like when we first met Freddie, where it's like, Freddie is not shady, but like Freddie was more understanding of the situation. Though. Yeah, then what Dickie was like very gullible, where it's like, oh yeah, like here, enjoy my money and come visit this place and this and that and stuff. Where Freddie's like, like who the hell are you and stuff, and like what does this mean and all this stuff, and it ends up getting them killed, so to speak,
quick
because it's like you come and find all that stuff. But I the first 4 episodes, the first 4 that we watched and then recorded an episode, it was a very slow burn, and I think these last 4, I think Cat and Mouse is a very kind of like good kind of statement to say with like the last 4 episodes, where it's like, it's just kind of like, where's Tom gonna go? And who is Tom now? And all this stuff, and where's the detective going or investigator?
I have to say that cat is beautiful. I don't know what kind of cat that is, but that's a beautiful cat. I have to say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely think this half of the season was better than the first half because you're in the action more and you're trying to figure out like, okay, Tom got away with murdering his friend. What else can he get away with? And you quickly see he got away with murdering Fred. But I didn't understand why he left. Like, he could have drove Fred's car anywhere and just, like, launched the car off a cliff or something. But he was just like, I'll just pull it over here.
That's what I thought, too. Found. Yeah, it's like, why go through all that time to, like, pull Fred into the car and then you drive him away? It's like, and you're near an aqueduct. Yeah, and then go back and everything. It's like, go find a lake and everything. You're trying to pretend that they're drunk too, so maybe they were drunk and drove into a lake and everything.
Exactly.
I don't know, but that was weird to me. Where it's like he seems very methodical in what he does because he does the whole like the passport thing, writing documents under like the assumed person well enough, but then this thing is like I guess you can tell like killing people is not his part of his like situation. It's like I can do other stuff. I can do other shady things, but like having to deal with like a body afterwards, it's like it's cumbersome and everything and all over the place.
It seemed like he enjoyed killing though. Like there was like a look that he gave after killing Fred. I don't know if it was just the enjoyment of killing Fred or
maybe
or if it was the enjoyment of killing a person.
It kind of like shows you like that's sort of like I'm not saying that like Ripley's like a serial killer, but like they always say like a serial killer kind of like starts off with like slower like smaller things, like just breaking into a house and then leaving and then seeing if they can do that, and then like they kind of escalate and stuff. And so it's like his belief in how powerful he was around these individuals, like how smart. I think he was like that, where he believed he was super smart around all these people. Like he knew exactly who they were. So I guess finally being able to kill Freddy, because you didn't see the same reaction as like him killing Dickie. Mm-hmm. Like there wasn't that like, oh, like this is pleasurable or something or that.
He reveled and he was like, ooh, okay.
Yeah, then
pulled like, some cigarettes out, lit them up. It's like, damn.
Yeah, and then he's like, time. How do I get this body down like 6 flights of stairs?
Yo, when that elevator, I almost laughed. When that elevator broke, I was like, obviously that's going to happen right now. Like, when you need it the most.
And I guess at a certain time, people in Italy at that time never left their house after a certain time because like he was there for a long time.
Yes. Nobody. And I'm like, nobody left their house? This man pulled an entire body down flights and flights of stairs and nobody knew.
Hey.
And him leaving some blood too, like him being so methodical and cleaning up some of the stairs but not making sure all of the stairs are clean, that didn't make sense either.
Right? Like you can see where like I guess you can like overlook that, but like you were trying to figure out if there was blood somewhere and stuff, and you want to clean it up, and I guess it's just an oversight. But I don't. Sometimes I guess like you wonder, like some serial killers are like, oh, I want to see if I can try to get caught.
It makes sense
like,
too. Yeah,
it makes sense at that point. But
let me leave some Easter eggs.
Yeah, right.
Like, ooh.
I found it funny in terms of that blood. Like the leftover blood that they showed in the footprints of the cat, where there was some color to it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think that's the only time we saw color throughout the whole time.
Yeah.
And which was cool.
Yeah.
Which was like pretty interesting.
But it was also strange because you're so used to just seeing black and white. Yeah. And then to see that glimpse of color, you kind of question it. Like, is that really color?
Yeah, right. Because it's like it stands out. It stood out to both of us. Because it's like the moment you see it, you're like, "Whoa, okay!" Like there was some color. They were able to show color.
Yeah,
this whole thing. I think myself the times that I saw the black and white aspect kind of stand out the most was when he was trying to dump Freddy's body. Where like the big trees and it made it extra spooky, and then it showed how dark everything can be. And then I think that showed me that black and white has a purpose for a lot of things and stuff, especially with this show.
Yeah.
And that was a good showing of it where it kept going back to that.
It was one thing, it happened in a few episodes, but when they translated the text, when they had like a newspaper up and they would translate the text for you, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it was a very subtle way of like not having to put like subtitles. It's an artistic kind of like more of like natural to the situation, and
Yeah.
I thought it was very cool too, where it's like it showed you the language, but then it would like just show the important parts, especially when he's like reading the newspaper.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. I like that a lot too.
Because we're so used to TV shows and movies now, like showing somebody texting and then you see the text bubbles pop up, which is cool, but it's kind of played out. So to see that, I was like, oh, I don't think I've seen that before. So I thought that was a cool little
it was
ad.
like those text bubbles almost kind of take you out of the because it, like we see them in our phones and everything, but it's like they're not like all around us and stuff. So it's like unless you're like doing a movie like Ready Player One, where it's like they're in a video game sense and there's like a chat bubble, that makes sense. But like in other shows, it doesn't make sense. And this was like I think a very natural way to do it.
Yeah.
What'd you think about the inspector? I thought he was a very cool character.
I really liked him too, man. So the crazy thing is, like, I like that as you watch the show, you never knew if the inspector was going to catch Tom or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I had full faith that he was going to catch Tom. I was like, oh, okay, by the end of this show, Tom is in prison or dead. And obviously that didn't happen. I still don't understand how he was able to get away with what he got away with, but I did like the inspector also.
I liked his behaviors, his like meticulous kind of way of opening up his little notebook, where he always kind of like made the sound with the paper to get to his spot, and it's like, and then his every time, I guess like back then you expected like everyone will let you kind of smoke in their like homes and stuff, but he made a point to like ask every time, can I have a smoke? Can I have a smoke? Can I have a smoke? And so it kind of showed that he's very meticulous, but then you're like, this guy's like right under his nose, right in front of you, just
like right in your face right now. Like, how good of a detective are you? Like, you should understand this at this point.
Yeah, because I wrote down, it's like, all right, like how long does it take you to like interview someone and say like, hey, actually, what does Tom Ripley look like? Or what does Dickie look like?
Do you have a photo of these two so I can get an idea? Like, that should have been the first question. Like, okay, I see your passport, great. But do you have a photo of Dickie? It's like, oh. Then you show a photo. He's going to show a photo of himself, Tom. It's like, you look the same.
Yeah, especially back when you assume forgery was more prevalent, right? Like, like especially
that's all
like,
you could do.
Yeah, so it's like, wouldn't that be something that you ask like someone that knew Dickie personally and be like, hey, like, what does Dickie look like? You have photos all over the place. Can you point out Dickie to me?
And not wait until you open a book and you're like,
right?
Oh, I messed up. Dang. But that's one of my notes was, it's crazy that back in the day you could literally just change your identity and move to a town over or like a new city and nobody would ever know who you really are.
Right? You're just like, all right, I'm going to just start a new life. I'm moving to this place.
Like all those, like the running joke of back in the day of like, oh, the dad went to go get milk and never came back. And
right?
Like, he just started a family down the street. Like that's basically what Tom did. It was like, okay, cool. I'm now Dickie.
And was able to like be at least convincing enough to Dickie's dad, to Marge. Because even at the end, you're like, man, all those questions that Marge asks, why did she come to the conclusion so quickly that like, oh, he just like decided to leave,
he killed himself,
and possibly killed himself and everything, and it's like, okay, and but then you see Ripley just sitting there in that mansion, and you're like, oh, like
where did you get all this? Like how do you go from you were in a hotel when I met you, and then my boyfriend at the time set you up in his place, and now you're in a mansion that you're renting? Like, where you get all this money from?
right?
Those should have
In
been the
Venice.
questions. Like, oh, yeah, she did ask that question. Matter of fact, I was like, oh, my family member passed away. It's like, your family member had that kind of money?
Yeah, okay.
Like, all right. Now you have my boyfriend's ring? All right.
Yeah. I guess that kind of like tells the ending to this. It's like Ripley is able to convince everyone around him that he assumes Dickie's identity until everyone's on top of him, and then out of nowhere he then turns back into Thomas Ripley.
Yeah.
And then it's like it's just able to like continue to take money out from I don't know, he took all of his money out, I guess, and then just transferred it over to his own and all that stuff. So,
because he got that the money for the boat.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, and at first I thought he sold that the art piece from Picasso, but then he picks it up at the end, and then
he gets a new identity at the end too.
Yeah, so he has the art piece of Picasso under that new identity. So then you're thinking, did he think about that in the first place?
Had to,
right?
You knew he had to have a plan. Like, okay, if this ever falls through, I gotta have something ready.
But then I guess that goes to the point of to my question, like, do shady people understand other shady people? Because we don't assume John Malkovich's character is shady.
No, we knew he was shady. Yeah, we knew he was shady.
I didn't know that.
Based on their interaction, because how the interaction with him and Fred, I think you called it the fact that, like, okay, shady people know shady people. So I think Fred had some shady stuff going on that we just never found out because Fred was killed too soon. But John Malkovich easily caught on. And they were like, okay, yeah, we're on the same page.
You also sell art?
Yeah, like, exactly. I was like, okay. That was a huge wink. Like, all right.
Yeah, I guess so. It's like, yeah, like, or maybe like you go to a party and you're like, you know, you don't belong here and I don't belong here either.
Yeah. Let's be friends.
Yeah. I don't know. I was very surprised to see John Malkovich show up for a very small role too.
Yes.
It's like, okay, like John Malkovich.
I legitimately smiled. I was like, John Malkovich. Like, okay.
I wonder like what sells, like, I'm assuming the story sells John Malkovich on like, hey, like, we want you for this role, but it's like literally like 2 lines at the very end of this whole entire show. Yeah, so it's like, all right, like, how do you convince him to do it? But it must be
he's probably like, whatever, it's a check, I'll take it.
I got nothing else to do.
Exactly. So do you think this could have a season 2?
That was my question to you too. It's
okay.
I don't know. I feel like I would be like, I would lose a lot of time in my life by watching this if they came out with a season 2, because it's like, I don't see another need to watch something more of Ripley.
Yeah.
Because basically the investigator figures it out at the end, but like, okay, he's gonna go after him and find him, but then what happens then, and all that stuff. Like, because basically a second season will be more of his escapades of like spending his money and kind of living a fairly good life, right?
I think so, but I also think they would tie in him trying to evade the inspector, because he would know at that point that Marge put her book out and there's an actual photo of Dickie, so he would be like, oh, if I know there's a photo of Dickie in here, the inspector should know as well. So he's then always looking over his shoulder like he was in season 1, and then also befriending new people and trying to get into these circles of rich people again. And it might be a whole circle of like, okay, cool, now I'm in a new circle of rich people. Now I need to figure out how to get even more money because I'm going to run out of the money I have, because he's going to spend it like an idiot. And how do I evade this inspector while trying to meet these new people and get all this money? So I think it would be similar to season 1, but the fact that he's now being chased by an inspector.
Yeah, you can kind of open the character list a little bit more. You can kind of like introduce John Malkovich again, and or like Marge another character like him and stuff, Marge, and then the dad will come around and stuff and be like, oh, like, I guess so. But then, for me, it would be more of the same from season 1. Like, I feel like this is Netflix has been fairly like off and on of like ending things correctly or just
Yeah,
like canceling them whenever they want. So I can see this one being like, all right, this one's a good ending and we're fine with that. And then imagine how
I
much
agree.
money they spent on it if they're actually filming on location in Rome and in Sicily and in Venice and stuff. And so it's probably was an
Locations,
expensive.
like, yeah, it was probably ridiculous. The black and
Yeah.
white, yeah,
Right.
a lot of money.
So I think I would
wouldn't,
be happy.
yeah, I wouldn't want a season 2, but if they found a way to twist, because I think they would go down that path that we just talked about, but they would just need some sort of twist that would bring people in. Because it's like, okay, I watched season 1, that was a nice tight bow on that. What are you going to do to bring us in for season 2?
Yeah, like I can only think of like if Marge is able to outsmart him, or there's another Ripley that kind of is out there and is able
Yeah.
to like con his way into stealing money from Ripley. Like, oh, you
Maybe
got
it's
this.
John Malkovich.
Maybe
Yeah.
that could be. That'd be
Yeah.
interesting.
That's how they sold it to him. Like,
Maybe
hey, you have a small role in season 1, but season 2,
we're gonna blow it up.
you're second on that bill.
Well, with us finding the ending to this story, so to speak, for season 1, like, do you still recommend it to people, or would you still recommend this to someone?
Yeah, I already did. I think I mentioned in the first episode, like I had already mentioned to a friend, and they finished it before I could finish it. So I would definitely recommend this to more people in my life, and the viewers of this. Like, I would recommend watching this. It was a great show.
Yeah, I do see where it's like it can be. I can see like thinking about people in my own personal life other than us. Like Patty enjoyed it. Like she was enthralled by like, oh, she kept like trying to like, oh, I want to like see this part and everything.
Yeah.
But I can see my dad being hella bored with this. Like, like, but my mom probably liking it. But then like thinking about like Nick, I don't know if Nick would be like willing to sit down for like an hour or so to watch what's going on with Ripley and stuff. So it's like
not
I
enough
think
colors, not enough action. He wouldn't be into it.
Yeah, I think you have to have like a need to like want to watch like a kind of like intricate story.
A period piece almost.
Yeah, it's almost too, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's like where the recommendation would be if you enjoy good cinematography and stuff, like enjoy a black and white film, and maybe you want to enjoy a black and white show and see how that goes with like an 8 episodic or an episodic show in black and white and see how that goes. But it's going to be a slow burn, I think, for the first at least 4 episodes.
Definitely that.
But I guess you can like take your time on this and everything. Like you don't have to like watch it back to back like I guess some people do.
Like we did, honestly. Like we watched 4, and then it was like, okay, we took a little bit of time and watched the last 4.
Yeah, right. So we watched in like 2 weeks. So so maybe if you do decide to watch this, watch it at your own pace, not at a pace that you want to watch like 4 episodes in a week, and enjoy the story, I guess. But yeah, I'm excited about the next one. Since we've been saying Shogun is going to be the next one. So yeah, so let us know if you've seen Ripley season 1 on Netflix in the comments below. Let us know if you liked it, disliked it, and please like and subscribe to Saturday Night Popcorn for more TV dinners like these.